On April 25, 2023, drama erupted in a California prison as Jaime Brugada Valdez, better known as the swagger-filled rapper Money Sign Suede, met a shocking fate. He was brutally murdered in an attack that echoed the swift justice often seen among gang members behind bars. James Whitey Bulger, the notorious Boston crime boss James Whitey Bulger, met a grim end just one day after being transferred to a federal prison in West Virginia. Known for a litany of crimes including murder, conspiracy, and extortion, Bulger's journey took a fateful turn when he was initially held in a Florida jail back in September 2014. His later transfer to Hazleton Penitentiary in October 2018 would seal his fate in a tragic twist of events. Born on September 3, 1929, in the heart of Boston, Massachusetts, James Whitey Bulger was raised in a bustling Irish-American family of 6. Growing up in the tight-knit Irish Catholic neighborhood of South Boston, he found early camaraderie with the notorious street gang known as the Shamrocks. His journey into crime began with car thefts, soon graduating to daring bank heists. Despite early run-ins with the law as a delinquent teenager, Bulger's criminal ambitions soared. He built a formidable empire spanning loan sharking, gambling, extortion, drug trafficking, and even murder. His notoriety reached its peak when he was convicted of armed robbery and hijacking, leading to his confinement in the infamous Alcatraz on San Francisco's Prison Island. Bulger's criminal career was a dark saga, a nightmare for his victims. His deeds included attempting to supply weapons to the paramilitary Irish Republican Army in Northern Ireland, and the brutal strangulation of 2 women with his own hands, motives still shrouded in mystery. In a chilling escalation, he once subjected a man to hours of torture before mercilessly ending his life with a barrage of bullets from a machine gun. What made Bulger truly infamous was his intricate ties to the FBI. With the aid of rogue agent John Connolly Jr., who turned a blind eye to his crimes in exchange for intel on rival gangsters, Bulger operated with impunity. This cozy arrangement allowed him to evade an imminent indictment in 1995, prompting his dramatic escape into hiding. After 16 years on the lam, he was finally apprehended in Santa Monica, California in 2011, where he had been living undercover with his girlfriend, Catherine Gregg. Gregg remains incarcerated in a women's prison in Minnesota. In 2013, Bulger faced justice for his extensive criminal enterprise, including racketeering, extortion, and his involvement in 11 murders across the United States during the tumultuous 1970s and 1980s. His reign of terror led the U.S. government to pay over $20 million in reparations to his victims' families, acknowledging his heinous acts committed while under the supposed watch of law enforcement. Surprisingly, Bulger showed a glimpse of remorse in 2015 when he penned a letter to a group of students who had reached out to him for a history project. In his expression, he wrote,
"My life was wasted and spent foolishly. A lesson I hope the students would have learned."
After being moved from a Florida institution, Bulger was transferred to Hazleton Penitentiary in West Virginia on October 30, 2018. Tragically, on his arrival day around 8:30 a.m., the 89-year-old was discovered in his cell, brutally beaten by another inmate using a weapon made from a padlock stuffed inside a sock. Gerald Hector Scarpelli. Gerald Scarpelli's life journey from failed boutique owner to notorious loan shark was marked by unexpected twists, none more surprising than his role as an informant. However, on May 2, 1989, this gutsy man met his tragic end. Born in 1933 in Chicago's Near West Side to a baker, Scarpelli turned to a life of crime early, accumulating 18 arrests on his record. In 1965, he pleaded guilty to armed robbery in Wisconsin, receiving a suspended sentence and probation. Despite harboring dreams of legitimate business ownership, such as running a boutique or an automobile salvage yard, Scarpelli's criminal past continually stood in the way of his aspirations. For several years, Scarpelli operated under the wing of capo regime Joseph Folla, gaining notoriety as a top loan shark and overseeing illegal gambling in the southwest Chicago suburbs. His criminal career reached a grim peak with his involvement in the 1979 murder of George Christofilos. This deadly act, sanctioned by mobster John Borsellini with approval from outfit leadership, aimed to eliminate Christofilos, who had disrupted one of Borsellini's operations. Scarpelli and Borsellini ambushed Christofilos, resulting in Borsellini fatally shooting him. Shockingly, just 2 months later, Borsellini was found dead, thrusting Scarpelli into the spotlight as the prime suspect. In another grim chapter, Gerald Scarpelli and Michael Oliver raided an adult bookstore in Elk Grove Village, where Oliver tragically suffered a gunshot wound. After attempting to conceal the incident by burying Oliver with an accomplice, their crime was eventually uncovered by law enforcement. But the violence didn't end there. In 1980, Scarpelli and 3 associates escalated their criminal activities with the murder of William and Charlotte Dauber. William Dauber, a prominent mobster overseeing auto chop shops on Chicago's South Side, had fallen out of favor with outfit boss Albert Caesar Taco. The hit on the Daubers was meticulously planned. They were stalked after leaving court and ambushed on a secluded country road. Using an M1 carbine and a shotgun, Scarpelli and his accomplices unleashed a deadly barrage of gunfire, sealing the Daubers' tragic fate. In 1988, Gerald Scarpelli found himself in trouble once more, this time facing arrest for a robbery in Michigan City, Indiana. His downfall came swiftly when wiretap conversations from James Duke Basile, a member of Scarpelli's crew discussing assassination plans, surfaced. Faced with the prospect of serious charges, Scarpelli made a fateful decision. He agreed to cooperate as an informant. In a shocking turn, Scarpelli confessed to the 1980 murders of William and Charlotte Dauber, as well as the killings of mob chauffeur Gerald Carusiello and chop shop owner Timothy O'Brien. However, on May 2, 1989, just days before a crucial court ruling on his robbery case, Scarpelli tragically took his own life by hanging himself in a shower stall at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Chicago. His decision to end his life came amidst the weight of a recent judicial setback regarding the Basile tapes, a decision he couldn't bear to face. Michael Mosca. Torres.
The California State Prison is investigating the stabbing death of an inmate. According to investigators, 2 inmates, Juan Martinez and Ray Martinez, attacked and killed 59-year-old Michael Torres.
Michael Torres, also known as The Fly, wielded significant power within the confines of the LA County jail system, overseeing various illicit activities from behind bars. Yet, his influence and authority within prison ultimately led him down a path from which there was no turning back. Originally part of the Sanfer gang, Michael Torres earned his membership in the Mexican Mafia in 1994 through Luis Huero Buff Flores. Despite his initial incarceration for manslaughter, Torres was released after 16 years. Upon his return to society, he assumed the role of tax collector for the Mexican Mafia in the San Fernando Valley. His considerable influence in this role, gathering payments from multiple neighborhoods, earned him the moniker Mosca, meaning the Fly. In 2003, Michael Torres found himself in a deadly confrontation with David Diablo Mendoza, whom he suspected of falsely claiming ties to the Mexican Mafia. After verifying Mendoza's affiliation through his tattoos, Torres shot and killed him in a tragic escalation of events. Adding to his dark reputation, associates allegedly acting under Torres's orders kidnapped and assaulted a gang member known as Smokey. However, karma soon caught up with Torres. Upon his arrest, detectives uncovered bundles of cash hidden in his mother's home, hinting at his involvement in illicit activities. Surprisingly, they also found a reading list suggesting Torres's intellectual curiosity across diverse subjects. Torres, despite only having a 5th-grade education, chose to represent himself in court, perhaps to prolong his incarceration and fulfill his duties for the Mexican Mafia, particularly in collecting taxes on drug sales. His strategy paid off in a dark twist. Although sentenced to life in prison for attempted murder and other crimes, this outcome aligned with Torres's intentions. It allowed him to assert control over the LA County jail system, where he orchestrated lucrative rackets and imposed a significant tax on drug transactions. Operating with meticulous management, Torres utilized banned cell phones to monitor financial flows and distribute profits among Mexican Mafia members. His influence extended well beyond the prison walls, as he imposed taxes on gangs and drug dealers across San Fernando and Antelope Valleys. Torres even reinvested his illicit earnings into legitimate enterprises, showcasing a calculated approach to expanding his influence and wealth within and beyond confinement. Torres's influence and authority in the LA County jail system ultimately led to his downfall. His notorious persona and criminal dealings attracted significant animosity, culminating in his brutal murder. In 2019, Torres faced federal charges for allegedly conspiring with the Aryan Brotherhood to traffic heroin, adding to his legal troubles. On July 6, 2023, Torres met a gruesome end when fellow inmates Juan Angel Martinez and Ray Martinez stabbed him to death in prison, the reasons behind the attack remaining unclear. One thing remains certain: Torres's ascent from the streets of San Fernando to controlling the largest county jail complex in the United States garnered him many enemies along the way. It was a tragic end for a once powerful figure in the prison hierarchy. Jaime Brugada Valdez, aka Money Sign Suede.
Tonight, Jaime Valdez, a rapper known as Money Sign Suede, killed while being held at the State Correctional Training Facility in Soledad.
Many people wonder how Jaime Valdez, an infamous fast-rising Mexican-American star who gained millions of streams for his high-energy rap music, found himself caught in a net that led to his irreversible downfall. Born to Mexican immigrant parents and raised in LA's Huntington Park area, Jaime started recording and sharing rap tracks at just 16 years old. His talent caught the eye of Atlantic Records, and he was signed while still a teenager. Jaime Valdez's career soared with the release of his breakout track Back to the Bag in 2020, becoming a hit in the rap scene. The following year, 2022, was a busy one for him, marked by the release of his self-titled EP in March and his debut album, Parkside Baby, in September. However, like many in the rap industry, Valdez had ties to the criminal underworld. His legal troubles caught up with him when he was sentenced to 2 years and 8 months for felony possession of a firearm and drug addiction-related charges in Riverside County, California. Additionally, he faced another gun charge conviction in LA County, resulting in concurrent sentences totaling 32 months behind bars. On April 25, 2023, Jaime Valdez's life took a tragic turn while in custody. Correctional officers discovered him missing during a routine count at around 9:55 p.m. Further search revealed the 22-year-old unresponsive in another part of the housing unit, suffering from severe injuries all over his body. Despite immediate life-saving efforts and emergency transport to a medical facility on site, Valdez was pronounced dead. Officials reported that Valdez had been fatally stabbed, though the circumstances leading to his murder remain unclear. Nicholas Rosenberg, Valdez's attorney, expressed concerns and indicated that the investigation into his death is ongoing. Many speculate there may be more to the case than initially apparent, leaving unanswered questions about what led to this tragic outcome. Adam Abdul Hakim, aka Larry Davis. Larry Davis, despite his street popularity and influence in the music industry, became infamous in 1986 when he shot 6 police officers, marking a year of horror. Many remain puzzled about why he spent so long in jail on what seemed to be a mere gun charge following his capture, and his eventual demise in prison has only added more questions to the mystery. Born on May 28, 1966, Davis was known for his musical talent and aspirations as a rapper in his early days. Some likened him to 50 Before 50, while others called him the Crack City Terminator. His life took a darker turn when he started selling drugs, particularly due to his alleged connections with the police force. His involvement in drug dealing and the subsequent violent encounters, including the infamous shooting of the officers, turned Davis into a notorious figure. The lingering questions about his prolonged incarceration and the circumstances of his death have kept his story shrouded in mystery, adding to the complex legacy of Larry Davis. On November 19, 1986, Larry Davis was involved in a notorious shootout with NYPD officers in the South Bronx, during which 6 cops were shot. After his capture on December 6, 1986, Davis made explosive claims that the police had supplied him with the guns and that he had acted in self-defense. He further alleged that he sold drugs for officers in the Bronx precinct and that they wanted to kill him to keep him quiet about their involvement in drug operations. To the astonishment of many, a Bronx jury believed Davis's account. In a landmark decision, he became the first and only civilian in American history to be cleared of all charges related to the shooting of police officers. The only conviction that remained was for illegal gun possession. This case not only highlighted issues of corruption within the police department, but also cemented Larry Davis's place in criminal history. This outcome did not sit well with the NYPD or then-Mayor Edward Koch. Despite Davis later being convicted in April 1991 for the 1986 murder of a Bronx drug dealer, the desire for retribution from those affected by his actions remained unfulfilled. On February 20, 2008, while serving his 23-year sentence for an illegal weapons charge at Shawangunk Correctional Facility near the Ulster County hamlet of Wallkill, Davis was brutally stabbed to death. Former Mayor Edward Koch remarked that the prison system had achieved what the criminal justice system could not. Opinions on Davis's fate were divided. Some felt he received the justice he deserved, especially for shooting 6 police officers. Others, however, viewed him as innocent of the charges and regarded him as a hero who had exposed corruption within the police department. His life and death continued to provoke strong reactions and debate, cementing his controversial legacy. Michael Garrett. On October 16, 2000, Michael Garrett was convicted of a slew of serious charges, including racketeering, murder, sex trafficking, and drug trafficking. The trial gained particular notoriety due to the use of rap videos posted on YouTube by Garrett and other members of the Together Forever Mafia as evidence against them. Despite the widespread belief that it's impossible to overdose on marijuana, Michael Garrett proved otherwise with synthetic marijuana. Before the tragic incident on February 28, 2016, the 40-year-old was facing a likely life sentence without the possibility of parole. Co-leader of the Brooklyn gang Together Forever Mafia and a hip-hop director, Garrett died from an overdose on synthetic marijuana at the Metropolitan Detention Center while awaiting sentencing. His death highlighted the dangers of synthetic drugs and added a dark chapter to his already notorious story. A spokeswoman for the city medical examiner's office confirmed that Michael Garrett's death was classified as accidental, with cardiovascular disease as the primary cause and an overdose of synthetic marijuana as a contributing factor. Garrett's former lawyer, James Lisa, expressed strong disdain for the prison system, highlighting the failures in managing inmate health and safety. This tragic event underscored the dangers of synthetic drugs and cast a critical light on the conditions within the prison system. After being informed of the autopsy report, he said,
"I'm incredulous. He was in federal custody. That's not like Rikers Island or a county facility."
Prison experts also weighed in on the issue, noting the difficulty inmates typically face in smuggling drugs into federal facilities like the one where Garrett was incarcerated. This raised significant questions about how Garrett managed to obtain the synthetic marijuana that led to his death. Despite the supposed security measures in place at the Brooklyn jail, the incident highlighted potential lapses in the prison's security protocols and underscored the ongoing challenges of preventing contraband from entering correctional facilities. Clavino da Silva. Fans of Prison Break stories are familiar with the infamous tale of Clavino da Silva, also known as Shorty, who attempted a daring escape from the Brazilian prison system disguised as his teenage daughter. Born in 1976, Clavino was the leader of the Red Command, a powerful criminal organization involved in drug trafficking across Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. His notorious leadership eventually led to his arrest and a daunting 73-year prison sentence. Initially held at Bangu 3 prison in Rio de Janeiro, Clavino executed his audacious escape plan on August 3, 2019. During a visit from his daughter, he attempted to swap places with her by donning a silicone mask, a long wig, glasses, a bra, and clothing typically worn by a teenage girl. However, Clavino's nervous behavior aroused suspicion among the guards, who promptly made him remove his disguise. His attempted escape quickly became a media sensation, with images and videos of him in his elaborate disguise spreading widely on social media. Due to his history of successfully escaping in 2013 through a sewer system, Clavino was transferred to Bangu 1 prison in Rio de Janeiro and placed in solitary confinement following the failed attempt. 3 days later, he was tragically found dead in his cell, having taken his own life by hanging. His death marked a dramatic end to his notorious criminal career and escape attempts, leaving behind a legacy of daring but ultimately failed efforts to evade justice. Francis Cadillac Frank Salem. Francis Salem, born on August 18, 1933, in Boston, Massachusetts, was a formidable figure in organized crime, deeply entangled with the Patriarca crime family, a powerful mafia organization in New England. Known for his gritty persona and strategic prowess, Salem climbed the ranks to eventually lead the Patriarca family as its boss in the early 1990s. His influence and control extended across various criminal enterprises, marking him as a significant figure in the underworld. In the 1960s and 1970s, Francis Salem made his mark in organized crime through various illicit activities such as loan sharking, racketeering, and extortion, showcasing his ruthless and cunning nature. However, his criminal trajectory shifted significantly in the late 1990s when he turned FBI informant. This unexpected move led Salem to testify against his former associates in 1999, providing critical insights into the mafia's inner workings. Salem's cooperation proved instrumental in the convictions of several high-ranking mob figures, including the notorious James Whitey Bulger. His decision to cooperate with law enforcement, however, came at a steep cost. It earned him powerful enemies within the criminal underworld, necessitating his entry into the witness protection program for safety and anonymity. This marked a dramatic and perilous new chapter in Salem's life, where he traded his former life of crime for a precarious existence under federal protection. Despite being under witness protection, Francis Salem encountered legal troubles of his own. In 2016, he faced charges linked to his alleged involvement in the 1993 murder of nightclub owner Stephen DeSaro. While Salem did not directly commit the murder, he was accused of participating in disposing of DeSaro's body. On June 22, 2018, Salem was convicted for his role in the murder of Stephen DeSaro and was sentenced to life imprisonment. Despite efforts to appeal and overturn the conviction, including seeking a new trial, Salem's legal battles culminated when the U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear his appeal, effectively ending his last chance for legal recourse. This brought a definitive and sobering conclusion to Salem's tumultuous and intertwined life in organized crime and law enforcement cooperation. Sent to a federal prison in Missouri, Francis Salem passed away on December 13, 2022, at the U.S. Medical Center for Federal Prisoners in Springfield at the age of 89. The exact cause of his death remains undisclosed, but speculation suggests it may have been a suicide by hanging in his prison cell. His demise stirred reflections on his turbulent past and the lingering shadows of his former life in organized crime and witness protection. Peter Arthur Gotti. Peter Gotti, born on February 9, 1939 in Brooklyn, New York, grew up amid the tough streets of his neighborhood, heavily influenced by his criminal sibling. As his brother John Gotti rose to become the boss of the Gambino crime family in the 1980s, Peter also became deeply involved in the family's illicit operations. Peter Gotti's criminal trajectory took a significant turn following his brother John Gotti's conviction in 1992 on serious charges including racketeering and murder. With John now serving a life sentence, Peter stepped into a more prominent role within the Gambino crime family, eventually rising to the rank of capo. However, Peter's ascent was soon overshadowed by legal troubles. In the early 2000s, he faced a federal indictment that accused him of offenses such as loan sharking, extortion, and money laundering. The case alleged that Peter had taken control of the Gambino family's operations in his brother's absence. In 2004, he was convicted on these charges and received a lengthy prison sentence, marking a significant downfall for the Gotti family's criminal legacy. Throughout his time in prison, Peter Gotti kept a relatively low profile despite facing health challenges. In 2011, he sought early release on grounds of poor health, but his appeal was ultimately denied. On February 25, 2021, Peter Gotti passed away from natural causes at the Federal Correctional Complex in Butner, North Carolina, at the age of 81. His death marked the conclusion of an era for the Gotti family's enduring presence in the realm of organized crime. Richard Leonard Kuklinski. Richard Kuklinski, famously known as the Iceman, gained notoriety as a hitman responsible for orchestrating between 100 to 200 murders during his criminal career. Born in April 1935 in Jersey City, New Jersey, Kuklinski's early life was marked by severe abuse and violence. He frequently recounted the trauma of his troubled childhood, enduring physical abuse inflicted by his parents. These early experiences played a significant role in shaping his path towards a life of crime, which began with petty theft and extortion activities. In the 1950s, Richard Kuklinski immersed himself in organized crime, aligning with several influential families across the New York metropolitan area. Renowned for his brutality and effectiveness, Kuklinski quickly drew notice from criminal organizations. He eventually forged ties with prominent crime syndicates like the De Cavalcante and Gambino families, establishing himself as a feared hitman. Kuklinski's macabre tactics, such as freezing his victims to mask the time of death, led to his chilling nickname, the Iceman. His reputation for cold-blooded efficiency and willingness to execute orders ruthlessly solidified his status as a formidable figure in the criminal underworld. Richard Kuklinski's criminal activities extended beyond murder to encompass loan sharking and drug trafficking. Known for his diverse methods of eliminating targets, including cyanide poisoning, shootings, and dismemberment, Kuklinski operated with ruthless efficiency in the underworld. Despite his brutal profession, he managed to maintain a facade of normalcy in his personal life. In 1961, Kuklinski married Barbara Pedrici, with whom he had 3 children. He strived to keep his family insulated from his criminal endeavors, portraying himself as a conventional suburban husband and father. This dual life allowed him to compartmentalize his violent exploits from his domestic responsibilities, preserving a semblance of normalcy amid his dangerous career in organized crime. Kuklinski's criminal career came to an abrupt end in 1986, when he was apprehended for his role in a pornography distribution operation. Subsequently, he faced a slew of charges including multiple counts of murder, conspiracy, and racketeering. During his trial, Kuklinski shocked authorities and the public alike by admitting to the murder of between 100 to 200 individuals spanning several decades from the 1940s to the 1980s. Although the precise tally remains elusive, in 1988, Kuklinski was convicted on 5 counts of murder based on the evidence and testimony presented in court. He received a life sentence without the possibility of parole, marking the conclusion of his reign as one of the most prolific and ruthless hitmen in criminal history. In October 2005, after nearly 18 years behind bars, Kuklinski got hit with a tough break: Kawasaki disease. Despite his desperate plea to doctors to bring him back if his heart gave out, his ex-wife Barbara had already signed a do not resuscitate order. When asked a week before he passed if she might change her mind, she didn't budge. On March 5, 2006, at 70 years old, Richard Kuklinski's heart gave out in New Jersey State Prison, Trenton. Some suspect Barbara's decision may have hurried his end, sparking talk about her role in his passing. It's hard not to wonder if she had a part to play in how it all ended for him.